Okay, this is going to be a little video on how to wire your light. We'll look at this here. It's very simple. You're going to have a sheet metal base that you've made, and then I'm going to show you how you will secure the light to the base. Everybody has a 3/8 hole that goes through their base. This is made of multiple parts, but it doesn't matter. You can see that the nipple goes all the way through, and it's secured with an IPT nut at the bottom and then one on the top. You don't need a harp. That's what this is. It helps hold the shade away. You may be putting wires or other kinds of construction, so that's not really necessary, but let's look at all the different parts that you're going to need. So you should have received a porcelain keyless socket adapter that has 2 short nipples in it, a switch that's for 18 SPT wire, which is this cord here is 18 SPT, and then everybody will receive 2 of these 1/8 IPT, that stands for International Pipe Thread, nuts that will secure the nipple to the base. The other thing you're going to need are some tools, and you need a good sharp knife. We're going to use that to split the wire to help insert the switch in the wire. And then you're going to need a screwdriver with a number 1 Phillips tip. I like this little pocket screwdriver. It's easy to carry around, and it's magnetized, which makes it really easy to handle the really small screws in this. So I'll take a little break here. I'm going to show you how to wire the cord to the keyless socket. All right. So one of the first things we want to do is take apart the keyless socket. If you look at this, there's 2 screws in the bottom here, and that's what holds the base on. So I love this screwdriver because it's a number 1 Phillips head, but it's magnetized, which is really nice because getting these things back in can be really difficult. It's doable, but it helps to have. Okay, so you're going to take it apart. You're going to see there's this little plastic piece. This is really important. This acts as a guard, so that if the wire is up against the base here, it won't short out. So this has to go back in, all right? The other thing you're going to do is there's a little tiny screw right here, right? And we're going to loosen that because you can see that it's going to make it impossible to thread the nipple on there. So I'm going to back this off. I don't want to pull it all the way out because you don't want to lose that. But those things travel, right? So just like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the nipple in. And this is also critical. What you want to do is you want to thread this in. So I guess it looks like that. Okay. This is critical. The nipple needs to go flush. If it comes up like this, there's the possibility it's going to short out against the wires. So this only goes right flush with that, okay? And once you've got it in there, then what you're going to do is you're going to take the set screw and you're going to tighten it down. Okay. I've already put the nut on there, so when it goes into the base, it'll be ready to be secured, all right? So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the wire. I've got to wire everything with the base. I've already got a nut on here. All right. So I'm going to run this through the base. And I'm going to run this through the nipple. Okay. Now I'm going to wire it to this. If you look at this, there's a silver screw and there's a gold screw. On the wiring here, there's one side that is smooth and one side that has little ridges on it, all right? So the smooth goes to the gold wire and the ribbed goes to the silver wire. That's important because when we wire the switch, we've got to have basically the smooth is the hot. It's the power coming in. The circuit gets broken by the switch, and then the power has to come back down. So they all have to line up, otherwise the switch won't work. So it's pretty simple. Oops, almost forgot. I've got to have that on there too, right? So now what I want to do is I'm going to back. These are already tightened, so I'm going to back them off. I don't want to pull them all the way out. And what's critical here is that when you put the wire in, you want the wire to go clockwise around the screw, because as you tighten the screw, it pulls the wire around. If you did it the other way, it would push the wire off, right? So we want it to pull around and be secure. So I'm going to put the smooth to the gold, which is this one right here. So I'm going to put a little hook in the wire here like this. I'm going to hook it over. So I want it to. There's a little base here, and so you want the wire to go between the screw and the base, and you want the insulation to go right up to the edge of the screw here. Let's see if I can do this. And then I want to do the same on the other one. So again, I'm going to put a little hook in here, and then I'm going to run this in clockwise. Coming out. This is if you go to switch it and it doesn't turn on, this is usually one of the problems, is that the screw has not secured the wire. There we go. That's nice and tight. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this whole assembly back up. You can see this would be a little bit harder if it was in the base. And what I need to do is I need to align the holes of the insulation up with the holes on the base here, and then I have to line that up with the holes. So I'm just looking down on this and finding the alignment. And this is where it's kind of tricky, and this is where it's nice to have a magnetic screwdriver. You can start. Okay, so now I've got this secure. So what I'm going to do is put this in here like this. And then I'm going to bring this nut up. And of course I forgot my little wrench. I've got a nice little wrench, because we really need to tighten these things down. You know, you can figure out how high or low you want the nipple in there. Not too professional, but I'll use these to kind of tighten it down for right now. One of the requirements for these lights, if you noticed, is that when you come in on the day of the critique, is that you have to be able to take your lamp and hold it upside down and nothing can fall off. So everything has to be secure. And so this has to be secure. Okay, so now we're going to wire the switch in here. And so these switches always have a slightly different interior design on them. What I would suggest you do to give yourself the most amount of options, because you're going to reuse this for your final lamp, I would put the switch further down rather than up here, because, you know, if you need a lot more length to go up into the light, and you've got the switch here, you can't move the switch once you've done that, right? So it's better to put it a little bit lower, all right? This too has a tiny little screw, and it also has a tiny little nut on there that we don't want to lose. Because again, that without it, these things are absolutely useless, and I don't have extra parts. So we're going to take it apart. If you can, try and leave the nut in there. Don't let it fall out. That's another thing that can go wrong, okay? So we're actually going to do it this way. So it's really hard to see the pattern in here, but the way you can tell whether you're doing it correctly or not is that there's these little barbs on here, all right? And they need to puncture the smooth wire, because what happens is it punctures into the smooth wire, which is the power coming in, and basically what the switch does is when it's off, you'll see here that we're going to cut the smooth wire, so there's no power. What this does is it acts like a bridge, and it jumps over the cut, right, and allows the power to keep flowing. So you can tell if this is going to be correct, because it has. So I always kind of get confused. So I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing that the prongs are on this side of the switch. I don't know if you can see that. There's those two little indents there. So the smooth wire has to be coming out of this side. All right? See if I can remember that. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a little slit into, and you got to be really careful, because you don't want to cut the insulation, because that's a point where you could create a short. So I'm just going to, and it's only about, so I want to cut the smooth wire, and I'm trying to, okay, so here it is. This is the are we live again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've opened up about maybe 5/8 of an inch slot in there, and I'm going to take the wire cutters and I'm going to cut the smooth wire, all right? Okay, so the smooth wire, let me just double check this again. So I flip this thing around. Smooth wire needs to come out of this side right here. So it's coming out of this side. So what it's going to do, and it may be different in these white ones, but we're going to feed the wire in here, and the broken part is going to come up, but it's not going to touch. And then the other part is going to feed itself around here. This might take a while too. So you basically push. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the little switch cover back on, and when I put it in, what I've got to make sure is that I push it really hard, because I want those barbs puncturing the insulation and going back into the wire, okay? So, and then screw this down tight, and we'll see if I can. All right. So again, we can plug it into our guy here. Hopefully this bulb works, because that's always really disappointing. Let's see here. This would be a really bad video if it didn't turn on. Oh. So that's it. That's all there is to it, right?
Yeah.
All right.